Hello and welcome to another edition of the Power BI Monthly Digest this month for the month of March. My name is Devin Knight, of course. I'm here with
Matt Peterson.
And Matt's going to be he's joined our team. He's going to be working with us to develop a lot of great Power BI training and be able to deliver them to you as well. But this month, in this edition of Monthly Digest, of course, we're going to be looking at some of the new things that have just come out. Pretty some interesting ones, I think.
Yeah, a lot of interesting ones, a lot of good fixes for things that people have been wanting on the community. So I think you're going to like it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing we're going to look at, Matt, is a major change that a lot of people are going to notice. Anyone that logs in is immediately going to notice there's a change with the ribbon, right?
Yep, no, it happened to me this past Wednesday. All of a sudden, my ribbon was changed.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to hop right into it. We'll give you a quick little peek at the difference in what's come out, and then we'll start talking. We'll come back and forth and talk a little bit about some of the other new things that have come out. All right, so if you have been working with Power BI for some time, you likely immediately see a change. If you look up at the top ribbon here, this has been out as preview for a couple months now, but now it is officially out. You'll see a lot of changes here as far as the ribbons. There's even some new tabs that appear depending on what you have selected. So you can see things like table tools or column tools appear. The column tools section, by the way, has a lot of the things that you would have found underneath the modeling ribbon before. But Matt, there was a big one here that you noticed, right?
Yeah, I was working with some data the other day, and I realized I needed to go edit one of my queries. And so I went to find my regular Edit Queries button, and it definitely wasn't there. So it took me a few seconds to realize if I would have looked closer at their smaller table where it says queries, that's where all my buttons that I could potentially need to use are there. And so now you just go to transform data and it'll take you into your query editor.
Absolutely. So a lot of kind of shifting around of things, a little bit of a different look and feel to what you saw before. There's even a Power Apps insert capability now. So they're really integrating more with the Power Platform as they continue to develop. You'll find the file menu looks a little bit different. The interaction there is a little bit different. But other than that, the tool is the same. They just moved a few things around, shifted them around, trying to give it more of an office look and feel.
To it. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. So the next thing that we're going to look at then is all around buttons, right? So tell me about this.
So one of the things that with Power BI is when you put your buttons on there, you make bookmarks for it to take you from one page to the next.
Yeah.
Well, they have made this way simpler. Instead of a 10, 15-minute process, we can have a page navigation demo probably within 2-3 minutes.
Awesome. Yeah. So I know I've done a couple demos where I try and talk through how you can build out this navigation. You got to use bookmarks and use selection pane and all these things to kind of make it where you can hop between multiple pages. The selection pane isn't required for that, but the bookmarks is a big piece of that. And so we were saying they've kind of eliminated that. They made it a lot easier to do this now.
Made it a lot easier. Less planning, more just self-intuitive. Like, I want you to go to this page, just put a button and it links to a page already in our report.
Oh, I like it. So if we flip back over to our report, we have a couple buttons that we have created. I'll give you a little behind the scenes action of what we're doing here. We actually have an image on top of a blank button. So if you haven't played around with buttons too much, you'll find those underneath the insert menu. And underneath insert, you'll find buttons. This page navigation piece that we're showing you has to be done with buttons. So if you want to trick the system a little bit here, you could use blank buttons and put images on top of it like I've done here. And so what we're going to do with this is I'm going to make it so that I want to hop to our secondary report that we have on the bottom, which you can see is called our table report. And I want to make it so that whenever we click on that image, or really a button, that it hops us between the chart report and the table report. And so to do that, we're going to select the button. And then we're going to go over to the far right-hand side where you'll see the visualization properties. And there is a section here devoted to actions, which looks like I have it turned on already. Normally that would be off by default. And then if I go into the action section, we can turn on actions for this button. And we can tell it that we want to use page navigation action, which again, previously you would have had to do this with bookmarks. So I would have selected the bookmark and then selected the bookmark type. No longer do you have to do that. You can select page navigation. Tell it which page you want it to hop over to. So in our case, we want it to hop over to the table page whenever we click on that button. And you can provide a little tooltip here if you wanted to. So I could say something like, click this to view table report, something like that. Then whenever we go to actually click on this button, it will hop us over to my table report. And we have a button here that can do the exact same opposite, basically. So I can select this again, go to Actions on the right-hand side, and you can see this one is already taken care of. We would just tell it that we wanted this one to go to the chart, and you can provide a tooltip if you wanted, but this allows me to hop back and forth between those two different report pages. Now, there's a couple different ways we could have done this. We could have done this all on one report and still stuck with the selection pane and the bookmarks if we wanted to. But this way I can hop between multiple reports, build some navigation in here.
Yeah, and you can put as many buttons as you want on one report as long as you've got the real estate to do it.
Awesome. Now, while we're already talking about buttons, I'll stay here for a moment. There's a new addition with drill-throughs with buttons as well, right?
Yeah, and the drill through is in the preview right now, so you got to make sure you've got that preview feature turned on.
Okay.
So now what we can do is we can click on one of our visuals and we can drill through into another report. But what is even better with this month's update is that you can pick 2 visuals to cross filter and drill through into a new report.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I have a drill through report that's already created here. Just to put some transparency here. We've already done something ahead of time here. But what I'd like to do is I want to make it so that I can actually do a drill through on a button, like Matt said. So I'm going to go up to the insert menu here, and we're going to add a button. We're going to add just the information button is fine for this. Of course, we could add another blank button if we wanted to and just put text on it. I'm just going to go with the information one to make it simple. And what we want to do for this button is we want to wire it up to activate a drill through. So if I select the button, like it is selected already, go over to the action section on the right-hand side, turn on the action, expand actions, and I can tell it this time, you'll see here, I can do a drill through action, which is in preview, like Matt said. I can go ahead and select that, tell it which page that I want to drill through to. So it's only going to list the ones that are actually set up as drill through. So we already set up the drill through piece. And then again, you can have a tooltip on whenever the drill through is enabled versus when it's disabled. But what does that mean? If you're not certain about what that means, this currently is disabled. So you'll look at this and you can see it's disabled because it's grayed out. But when you actually select a value, like this, you can see it's now enabled that drill through. We can actually do something with it. But like Matt said, so we could do this right now. If we went ahead and selected this, it would go drill over to our next report when it's only bringing back the United States. But what Matt said that was interesting is you can actually select multiple values. So let's say I selected Australia, and then I went over to my tree map here and I selected bachelor's and multi-selected those 2 values together. You can see that it's bringing back just the slice of data that accounts for both Australia and bachelor's degrees. And I can now select our drill through button, and that'll hop us over to our drill through report that shows, again, both just Australia and bachelor's degrees.
Yeah, and what I think is cool is like, we didn't make it yet, but an idea we had is for the button itself would be like to make a light bulb. And so once you can actually do something, the light bulb, lights up, and so that way tells your users, hey, there's some extra information here to go through it. We just haven't had time to make that yet.
Yeah, sure. So the next one's pretty simple, but also one that people have been asking for a while is sorting on tables.
Right? Yeah, which me as being a novice to start off with this stuff, but being very, prolific in Excel, started my first Power BI reports and like, why can't I sort on multiple columns?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that'd be a normal thing. Well, they fixed it.
Yeah, some of these things obviously come up and you're like, well, why wasn't this always there? But this is definitely one of those cases. So let's go ahead and show this. This is an idea here, of course, that we want to, you can sort on multiple columns here. So if we go back to our table example, actually it doesn't really matter which one of our examples because we're going to be sorting on the table in the top right-hand corner. And on that table in the top right-hand corner, you can actually see this one is already sorted by multiple columns, but you can sort by multiple columns by simply selecting a column. And then I believe, if I remember right, it's Shift. Yeah, there it is. So if you hold down Shift, you can then select a secondary sort column, and it sorts based on the order that you selected them in. So if I had first selected the sales territory group, it would sort by that first, and then hold Shift and click on the next column to then secondarily sort by that next column. So first, you can see this is sorting descending on the left-hand side, and then it happens to be sorting, looks like ascending on the countries here. So very simple ad, but probably one that you've been wondering, why in the world can I not do this in the past? Certainly now do that now. It's a great little ad that's been plugged into the tool itself. The next one I think we're going to look at has to do with line charts, right?
Yeah, so with line charts, what's great now is that we can put 2 values on a line chart and we can get 2 y-axis.
Oh, awesome. So you could do that with like a combo chart before, right? You can have a column chart and a line chart on top of each other with 2 different axes. But now, something that probably people, again, have wanted to see for a while, you can do on a line chart as well. Just a plain line chart.
Just plain line chart. So 2 lines, yeah.
Awesome. So we'll head over to our line chart example here. And this actually perfectly displays the problem. So this one says we have a sales amount column and we have a profit margin column. Well, profit margin here is a percentage. And so because it's a percent, it's always got a value of less than 1. So you can see on the bottom here, our profit margin is just hanging around at the bottom, not really displaying anything. So a simple fix to this that's now available to you is you'll find if you select a line chart that you now have a secondary y-axis that you can choose called Y2. And so if I grab the profit margin and I grab it and I drag it down into the Y2 section here, you'll immediately see that we now have the 2 different axes here to be able to understand the type of data that we're working with. And you had another great idea of how you can work with this as well. What was your thought?
Yeah, so with this, because you have two lines up here, and this one's fairly easy to see, we're measuring sales in millions and profit margin percentage. But for your end user, you might want to make sure it's really evident of what line goes to what axes. So what I would do is obviously I would take the our teal, our sales amount, I would make the left y-axis into those colors of teal. And then the right one is in black, so keep that maybe a bold. And that way it's a little bit more evident to your end user.
Yeah, makes sense. Give it a very clear definition of which one you're looking at here. All right, cool. So the next one that we're going to look at, very simple. And also there was a bit of an update here for you going forward next month, that the filter pane, if you've been working with the preview of the new filter pane, that's going to actually go generally available next month. So they're giving you a little warning on that.
And the old one's going away completely.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some implication there that you could have some things not carry over, so to be careful of that. But one of the additions that they made into the filter pane for this month's preview, or this month's release, is a search capability. So if you have a ton of different items that you want to potentially filter on, and you have so many listed, you might want to be able to search to find all the specific element that you want to filter on. So they've now added a search capability,
Yeah,
right?
added the search capability. And just to see if you have any filters turned on, if you've got all of those on a report that you haven't been used to using yet, you can go, what are they actually filtering? Are there some certain countries, or is there certain months? So we just go into the filter pane and just start, typing in what we think might be filtered, we want to be filtered, and we can see it.
Awesome. Let's take. So in this demo, this is pretty simple. We're just going to show you on the report we're already looking at. If you go in the top right-hand corner, you'll see here there's the filter area and this new search capability that's been added, and you can simply come into that area and just type in whatever you want, and you should be able to return back a filter as long as that item is part of either the visual or the report page you're looking at. You can here easily find it and then apply some kind of filter to it if you wanted to. So very simple thing to demo there, but a nice and simple one to show. Awesome. So let's flip back once more. So the next thing we're going to look at is around the decomposition tree, which again is a visual that's still in preview.
Right.
But a lot of people really like this visual. It was around with some other tools like Performance Point if you've worked with that one in the past. But this new addition that they've added to the decomposition tree does what, Matt? Can you talk to it?
So with the decomp tree, what was some people didn't like is that you couldn't set how many parts of the decomp tree that you're seeing, how many rows of it. And so right now we're allowed to go and select anywhere between 30 minimum and 30 maximum for the amount of bars that we want to see. And then one of the other things, once we get into the actually seeing it, we'll discuss at that point.
All right, so I have a decomposition tree report already set up right here. And on this report, again, Matt, you kind of described the problem, is you could have way too many nodes that pop off of this. So right now I'm looking at sales territory and sales territory country. I should say sales amount and sales territory country. I could have, there's 200 countries in the world almost. I could have 200 different nodes pop up here if we were selling in every country in the world. So the problem there, of course, is trying to see all of those nodes on one screen here. And so the fix that's been made available to me allows me to basically reduce the number of nodes that are shown.
Yeah, you can reduce it, and you get to pick, again, I think anywhere from 3 to 30. And we just do that by going into the format area of our visualization. And then we're going to go down into data bars.
Oh, tree? Yeah.
Tree, right? Sorry. Yep. And then we're going to our max bars shown.
All right, cool. So you can bump this up a ton, like you said, up to 30, or
Which
you can
would be
go all the way
to see in one report.
Yeah. Or you can go all the way down to 3, and if we unzoom here, you can see what happens. So talk us through this a little bit. I know you had some thoughts on this.
Yeah, so now we have our 3 as opposed to the multiple ones we had up earlier. So if we hit the down arrow, it gives us the next 3. Now previous to this, anytime you would scroll with the old decomp tree, when you would go to the next one, Germany would have automatically represented the 100% of the data that you were showing.
So this bar would have been all the way full.
Full, because it was only filtering based on the 3 countries that you'd see in front of you. So it really wasn't showing the true values of the data compared to the very top category.
Gotcha.
So this was a major fix that people seem to really be liking.
Yeah, makes sense. I like it a lot. Awesome, cool. So then the next thing that we're going to look at is this. I'm going to call this special. So Matt you're meeting Matt for the first time here potentially. Matt is a math. It's tough to say Matt and math together, but Matt is a math whiz. I'm gonna go that way.
Okay, I'll go with that too.
Right.
Sure.
So Matt is actually falling in love very quickly with DAX, I think, because it makes sense to like that analytical or math mind. And so there's a new DAX function that's been released to us this month called COALESCE, right?
COALESCE, yeah. And what's great about it is it's for the end user visual, so that anyone can use this and really see what they need to see without cluttering up space, so to speak.
Right.
So we'll take, let's just say we just came with this scenario that you were in charge of getting in touch with your customers, and you're going through your list. And so we have 3 customers here, Devin, Matt, and Molly. And as the person in charge, you just pick, okay, who do I need to get in touch with first? So we would say Matt. And so Matt, we have all three pieces of data available for him: phone number, email, address. And according to our customer standards, we're always supposed to get in touch with the person's phone number first, because we have the best results when we get in touch with them over the phone.
Okay.
And if we don't have the phone number, we go, okay, we'll email somebody. And then if not, we're going to mail them something that's the most cost expensive. So we don't want to have to do that when possible.
So in this example, I click Devin.
Yeah,
we
so
don't
now,
have phone, email. We only have his address.
Address. And so now the customer would know, who's working for us, goes, let's contact Devin at his address. And then if we click on Molly, we know that, okay, we've got her email, so that's how we're going to contact. Well, the problem with this is, if you look at it, if this is part of a multiple things that you want to see on a reports page, you're getting all these blanks because these are null values because we don't have the information for them. So what we can now do is the coalesce function. And so we'll show that for you. This is a calculated measure we can make. And what the coalesce function does is it goes through however many pieces of data you want, however many columns of data, and it is telling Power BI to go, hey, go to contact info table into the phone column, and if there is a value there, return it. If there's not a value there, move to your next column. If there's not a value there, go to the next column. Well, why is this such a great idea? Well, because of Coalesce, we no longer need 3 visuals to see our information. We only need to see 1 visual. So we can put this into a card. And when we bring that measure over into the fields, now we see Molly. So instead of seeing those 3 there with 1 that says blank, we now see, hey, host design, you need to email her there.
So the order does matter here, right? So
order does matter of how you put it in.
So checking phone first, then email, then address.
Gotcha. And then if nothing is there, and I didn't make one where we didn't have any information, it would return that blank that we've seen on the other ones.
Gotcha. So now if I switch to Matt, had all the information, so we should be able to get his phone number. That's our primary contact. Devin, we didn't have phone number or email, so it goes down to his address. Very cool. And
this is just one scenario where you could use it in terms of, your customer representation and get in touch.
Yeah, we had another example here, very similar. So if we had multiple, maybe we wanted to know the last date that we contacted a customer, or the last activity we had with a customer. Another similar example here. I actually like yours better because it shows different types of data that we're working with. But here, if we look at Matt, his earliest contact we had with him was the order date. So he's ordered, he hasn't paid, we haven't shipped anything to him. So the last contact we have with him was his order date. Devin, we have almost all the information. We have order date and payment date, no ship date, so it's going to bring back the payment date. And then Molly, same thing. I think she has all of her information, so it's going to bring back the last date that we have. So pretty cool function. I like how I think your example's a little bit better because it has a nice shows different types of columns that you might be working with, different data types potentially.
Yeah. I don't think there'd be any second guessing on someone who's supposed to be using the data.
Yeah.
They see that one piece and they go, that's what they run with.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. So the last couple things that we hear are pretty simple ones. We're going to talk about a few things that are going generally available. One of them is the query diagnostics feature that's inside the transform data section or the Power Query editor. And then also another enhancement that came out is there's some enhancement to the metadata that's occurring behind the scenes inside of Power BI. So if you're not super deep into what's going on with behind the scenes, how things are structured and how the files are storing the data inside of Power BI, or even the metadata, I should say, not a huge impact to you immediately, but this does make a pretty big impact long-term in the way that they're structuring the metadata that's storing the Power BI files. So part of what they're working their way towards is being able to have a lot of continuity between Analysis Services Tabular and the way that they store the metadata and Power BI. So that's one of the things that was released this month, is some metadata changes behind the scenes. And then the last one, of course, is the query diagnostics went into generally availability. Let me show you that real quickly in case you looked at that before. You can find the query diagnostics feature, which we have talked about in a previous video, underneath the transform data section. And then underneath the tools area here, looks like this one has so actually it's right here. You don't need to worry about what's below. But right here, you can see the query diagnostics section. Here, this feature allows you to bring back a lot of information about how your query is executing, like how long it took, where the roadblocks might have been. That feature is now generally available. So a lot of interesting things came out this month. Certainly let us know below, comment below, let us know which ones were your favorite, what you were most interested in. And we'll, of course, respond and let you know how we thought about them. I thought there was a lot of really cool features this month.
A lot of good ones, yeah.
But, of course, always make sure you subscribe and follow us here on YouTube, on anywhere else that we post our videos. Again, my name is Devin Knight.
I'm Matt Peterson.
And thanks for joining us. Take care.